But like, first of all, what is it about Nigerians that do so well in this country? That's one of the things. If you look at like Nigerian immigrants, like successful ratios of different immigration groups, Nigerians in particular are extraordinarily successful upon immigrating to America.
Yeah, I think it's a family thing. It's like when our families decide and we get.
Joe is like genuinely concerned. He's like, what is it about those Nigerians? And I think sometimes we ask the same questions. We're like, man, yeah, we see this people group over here and we see that they're absolutely driven and all the family members are successful and majority of them are doctors. And, what's the root of that? And I think many of us do ask that question, right? I mean, I do all the time. I sit there and I'm like, yo, I'm the children of Haitian immigrants. I'm not allowed to fail. That's really what I grew up with. Like, B is not an option. That's really the way that my parents instilled in me, right? Like, oh no, you gotta go and you gotta be great. You gotta become the best of what you can be. And they know that as being a lawyer. They know that as being a doctor. So I totally get it, right? I see why so many Nigerians have been successful. And so shout out to my Nigerians,
The opportunity to move to a better place.
Right.
The thing is that the whole persona is we're going to be able to sustain this forever. So my kids are not going to just play around in sports because that's not guaranteed.
Right.
What is guaranteed is the fact that you're going to go to school and you're going to become a doctor because you're going to get a job anywhere in the world that you want. That's why majority of them are doctors.
Right.
Majority of them doctors, engineers, because these are jobs that high demand jobs. You're always going to get a job anywhere.
Yeah.
And so that's all we push. You're going to be a doctor or you're going to be an engineer. None of them are saying you're going to be a professional athlete. My parents, no, they didn't care for that. Like, I lied to them the first couple of years that I was wrestling. I didn't tell them that. My brother.
I like how he said, he's like, listen, I had to lie to my parents, right, in order for me to go and fulfill my dream. How many of us have to lie to our parents, I'm saddened by that because I'm just like, man, I think our parents would truly, in the heart, they just really, in their deepest of deepest, they really want us to just be happy and successful, right? The both combinations, they want us to be happy and they want us to be successful. So that's what they go about. You have to remember, when you're talking about coming from a third world country and then you get the opportunity to come to America, like, we're not playing games. Like, no, we're all about to get this American dream. You get an American, we're going to be like Oprah in this place. You're getting an American dream. You're getting an American dream. You're getting an American dream. So I think that's something that like when you consider that, when you're thinking about, number one, when they receive the opportunity to say, hey, I'm coming to the States, they're like, listen, we gotta hit the ground running. We're already behind. People were already here before us. Now we're coming through, and everybody got to be successful. Every single person in our family has to be successful, and I respect that. But I do think there's a bit of a challenge when you're talking about like suppressing your true gift. Like Uzman is saying, like, man, I had to go and hide. Like, I'm just curious, where would you be if your parents just absolutely supported you, right? They're like, man, I see the talent, I see the gift. I'm going to go ahead and get this guy an extra trainer. I'm going to go ahead and do, or is it the fact that he had to do all of those obstacles and all those loops that made him who he is, right? I mean, I guess you can argue both sides of it. I'm more leaning to the fact that we could have, the parents probably could have did more to support that, and he would have came through and just, I mean, not that he's not successful, he's on this platform, but who knows where he could have been in that particular space. He could have been the doctor of UFC, right? He could have started UFC. Who knows? I just think that we kind of limit ourselves by doing that to our kids, right?
Is a doctor in pharmacy in Dallas. My little brother, could have gotten the NFL. He was a stellar football player. Played at the University of Houston, the University of Arizona. My sister now is in college. She's in nursing school in college. Like, that's just what we push. We want you to get a job that you can provide for your family forever.
Yeah, they remind me of Koreans in a lot of ways. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, super hardworking and appreciate once they've gotten to a place like America where there really is no ceiling on the possibility. You could do anything you want once you get here if you work hard.
Absolutely. And that's another thing that's dear to my heart is when you're in Nigeria, like when you're in a situation that we were at.
Yeah, when he says Asians, hands down, I know when I was growing up, I always saw Asians, and they're synonymous with, being smart, intelligence, also business owners, and just kind of all around success. And I even realized, I remember when I was younger, I used to see Asians, and I'm like, man, they're driving like the newest Lexuses and the newest Toyotas. They're low key balling, if that makes any sense, right? Or maybe high key, right? But they low key ball. They're not like flashy or anything like that, but they are gonna drive the newest Mercedes. They're always gonna drive the newest Lexuses. That's the one thing I noticed about Asians, and so it also seems like other cultures are starting to kind of figure that out. But I do think that they instill something in their families as well. So I'm like, now it's just time to take note, right? Time to take note on what do Nigerians do? Asians, what y'all do over there? I mean, are y'all willing to share it? Because I think that's really what's going to but that's what's going to elevate this generation, is really understanding what's that drive, and what's that drive that drives, the Asian community. What have they tapped into that they're super successful, and they're always, they don't look like they're in financial burdens, like some other cultures and stuff like that. So let's tap into some of those resources, some of those things that people do, because I'm super curious about what's out there, what they figured out, right? Nigerians, it sounds like Usman is saying, like, out the gate, they're saying, hey, my kid got to be like academically sound. They got to be able to figure this thing out from an academic perspective, and from there they won't fail. Because I mean, I was looking up articles and I saw, like, we're talking about, Nigerians is one of the most successful people groups, second generation people groups. I'm just like, wow, or immigrant people groups, and I'm just like, that's insane. You know what I mean? So I think, we definitely need to take out a page out of the Nigerian handbook.
My mom was a teacher. My mom owned a store, to a little convenience store, and we did little jobs on the side. We sold certain things on the side. And on top of it, raising 3 boys, rowdy boys. Like, that's what and in the school, we didn't.
What you selling on the side? No, I'm just kidding. I get what he's saying. It sounds like his experience is mostly from growing up in Nigeria, right? Because, and that's what he's kind of bringing back some memories from there.
It wasn't like, oh, there's the bus is going to pick you up at 7 a.m. to go to school. Nah, the school was 2 miles away, 3 miles away. You walking. You better get going. Don't be late, because if you was late, you was going to get a whooping before school started. That's how it was. And especially the education system is so high, because you miss a couple answers on a test, you had to go out and get a switch, and you were going to get whipped in school for those answers that you missed on the test.
They would beat you in school?
Yeah, absolutely.
The teacher.
Joe's like, yeah, they beat you in school? Yeah. I remember growing up. I mean, I'm not that old, but I do remember, like, early years. We're talking about like kindergarten, maybe pre-K or something like that. It may have been because the teachers knew my parents or something like that. But I do remember getting physically disciplined or getting a tap on the hands and stuff like that. I think now they don't play that game at all. But I do remember kind of back in the day where, they'd spank a little bit just to kind of get order of the classroom. or that particular individual, and they would call you out. And I mean, is it time to return back to spankings in school? Yeah, not in America, but but um, but I see why. If you know what I mean, in order to be able to do some type of control, but in the states that's not gonna fly, right? But in these other countries, they do discipline their kids in these classrooms. They do not play when it comes to education. Right now, the kids in America, they kind of have a little bit of a free will, like, oh, you don't want to learn, or you do want to learn. Now, in these kind of countries, you are gonna, when you get out of the math class, you're going to learn, you're going to know math, or the teacher is going to berate you. So,
Teacher. The teacher was first of all, it's not teacher. It's uncle and aunt. That's your uncle and your aunt in school. They knew your parents. They knew your family. They were gonna whoop you in school if you decided to mess up, and that's how it was.
When you put kids under that kind of pressure, my parents put me in Catholic school for 1 year, and I got excellent grades. And afterwards, I was terrible. Terrible, man. And I remember my stepfather said something to me. He said, your grades were only good when you were in Catholic school. I was like, they were threatening me all the time. They wanted to beat me and make me sit on a nail in the closet.
when you think about it, the students are not coming out of school with the knowledge and the understanding that they used to from back in the day, and that is because of that added on pressure, right? Where teachers were able to add some pressure, the parents were adding pressure, and then at the end of the day, you get a very smart child.